Ruben, brother, let's hear you talk about the officiating and the Raptors, man.
Yeah, you know what? This has been a league-wide problem too, right? Like I
Mm.
feel like this has been a league-wide problem. Um, let's start it with this. I think Fred's rant about like how he started off by saying Ben Taylor is a horrible official or had a horrible night. He had a horrible night officiating. There's a lot of missed calls and or calls that were, phantom calls most of the time. You guys know
Mm.
what that means. And then he went on to say most nights between the three officials, there's a guy or two like to just completely screw up the game. And that's happened to the Raptors 2 games in a row now between Denver, where Scott Foster throws out Scotty. Well, he calls a phantom call with, if I can't remember, is it Aaron Gordon in the post against Jakob Pertl there
I think so.
on
Yeah,
that play?
somebody was in the post there.
And it was just kind of, it's a bump game. It's super close. That was actually a really fun game to watch. And then I think Scotty Barnes he's like talking to himself, and Scott Foster goes, "Get out!" Throws him out. There's not a warning tech at all. He just boots him out the game.
Yeah,
Fast
I'm not gonna
forward,
lie, not to cut you off. I feel like he probably said
yeah,
like
yeah,
"fuck me, Scott," something like that, but like obviously inferring to
Y-
himself.
yeah, and of course, like he probably said his own name. Like
Mm.
y'all have the same name. Like yeah, that's a good thing to bring up. It really depends on what he said, and it could have been completely misconstrued as like, "Oh, you talking to me, fam?" Like, you know what I mean? You fast forward, obviously that call kind of affects the game because you throw out a guy, technical free throws, and then you lose one of your main guys to end the game. Clippers game, third quarter, it's really tight. Fred gets called for technical, BS technical, by the way, because he said in his press conference, if you all haven't watched it, he goes, literally, I just told all my guys to fight through the BS. And he got called for a tech. So that's an issue if you can't even talk to your team with a little bit of passion. And that changed the complexion of the game, which is what he said. I think the Clippers went on a massive run, and they were up by double digits at one point in the third quarter before the Raptors had to make their fake comeback again. And that was a pretty competitive game all the way through to the end. And you would like to think if it wasn't for that tech, maybe that's still as close as a game heading to the fourth quarter, and you could flip a coin at that point. Um, but this is the thing that's to be said. Marcus Smart. This is what I wanted to say offline. Marcus Smart addressed Fred's comments today and how like he's leading the team in fouls or he's in foul trouble as of late. And he said, "Listen, man, y'all heard Fred VanVleet's comments, right? I'm gonna let him do all the talking." And it's true because I'm sure Bucks fans, Celtics fan, right here, you watch your game and you go, like, what is the ref doing?
No,
Right? They're more often than
they
not.
definitely ref reputation rather than like concrete. This is the call kind of thing.
That's definitely one of the biggest things. The other big thing that I wanted to bring up is refs are definitely calling games because they want to be the center of attention. They think that they can change the complexity of a game and the intensity because sure naturally they're part of a game, but you shouldn't have direct impact on the outcome. You should only be calling it as you see it. Reputation calls, phantom calls, guys going, "Hey, oh foul!" Like, dude, the dude just said "hey," but it's a clean strip. Or uh, makeup calls. That's one of the things I hate
Oh
the
man,
most.
yeah.
Like a dude gets fouled down there, but you make it up on the next possession, and it's not even that bad of a call. And there are these things where it's like you're playing in-game politics between fan happiness, player happiness, coaches yelling at you. And I get like we're not in those positions, so we can't sit here and be like, "Oh, refing's the easiest job possible. You just gotta run around and watch these guys." No, you're watching a game that's really fast in real time, and you don't see the angle of the game like we do. Like if you watch it on broadcast, even from a basketball perspective, you can say, "Oh man, he should have cut there. He had a wide open corner." But when you're in the game, you don't see that because you just see a bunch of heads
Mm.
more often than not. Unless you're a guy like that's why people talk about size and being so big, is you can see over the defense, you can see things happening. Like, but anyways, like that's besides the point. Like refs so often lately, at least the past couple of years, have been getting involved and have been directly impacting whether a game is lost or won by a certain team. especially in crucial moments. Like, how many times are we seeing these stupid calls? And it's like, dude, like, if that wasn't called at that point, like, you could say, oh, like, a lot of these players say the right things, like, oh, we got outplayed. Oh, we should not put ourselves in that position. Like, hindsight's 2020. You look at that call, you take it away, the game's a different outcome. I don't care how you want to say it. Like, you can say all you want. Like, ifs, ands, or buts, like, it's the same thing. You might be like, oh, well, Ruben, what if that wasn't called? Then maybe they blew them out at that point. But I don't know. So I just think there are way too many calls and way too many refs that are directly impacting like how a game looks and how it's being played. Because they just I don't know what it is. Like, do they want to like they're power tripping? Fred VanVleet said that they're power tripping. Maybe they just want to feel like they're involved in the game. They're more important than what they actually are. I don't know, but there definitely needs to be some cleanup happening, at least in the NBA officials thing.
Yeah, I mean, to speak to that, they do the whole 2 minute report at the end of every game.
Oh my
And
god, it's the worst thing in the
it's
world,
just
dude.
like it's just like one of those my bad, I fucked up kind of things. But there's no real repercussions. I mean,
No, there's
it
none.
was Eric Lewis in the Celtics game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, we already
yeah.
talked about it, how tight the West is. Can you imagine how like screwed you'd feel as a Lakers fan if you miss out on the play-in or the playoffs by like a single game, knowing that there's that one there that, you know, call it how you want. We got a Celtics fan here, but that was a foul.
Nah, the Celtics sure lost that game.
Yeah, see,
I ain't gonna
see,
defend that shit, bro. I'd be
It
capping
was a
for
clear
months.
slap. It was a
yeah.
pretty clear slap, and the refs right there. Um, it's interesting because it's like you have the 2 minute report, but why do we have instant replay if we're not going to utilize it properly? Right? Like, I
I
know
think
I
that's
get
the
it. Like, we're gonna stop the game.
double edged sword of the challenge. Because like
Challenges
Yeah,
this
the
thing in NBA right
I think there's definitely things they can tweak about it. Like, I mean, they already talked about how if you win it, you should be able to keep
you
it,
can keep it. Yeah,
which
at
I think
least
is a step
yes.
in the right direction. But, the whole thing was like, we don't want to slow down the pace of the game, which I agree to an extent, but,
Yeah,
you know, you shouldn't sacrifice speed for integrity to that extent. And I mean, you know, as as much as it does slow it down, the right call has got to be the right call at the end of the day, I feel.
you want to know my counterpoint to that too?
Let's hear it.
Is the game's being played, or not counterpoint, but I guess to supplement what you're saying is the game is being played the fastest it's ever been played. And
No,
we
I
know
agree.
this,
Yeah.
like the game is slowing down because of these calls closer to the end of the game. And I think these guys would rather get the call right than, than have to worry about, oh, the game is slower, like we're just taking another break in
Mm.
between, like um so I don't know. I think for me, we should always make sure that we're getting the correct call. That should prevail over anything else. Because if there's anything that's ruining the integrity of the game, so to speak, Scott Foster said the other day with whatever the hell Scotty Barnes said. He said, "Oh well, Scotty said something that was ruining the integrity of the game." If we're just gonna let like calls that should be called like go, that's ruining the integrity of the game because that means we're not calling it correctly. Um, So yeah, we definitely got to clean up that 2 minute report. Like, I'm not telling guys to be fired from their jobs, but I don't know. Like, maybe there's like for that 2 minute report. This is why, like, sometimes I think about it. It's an extreme situation, but it'd be cool if there was a point system in the NBA from wins and losses, like how hockey does, kind of. Because then,
Oh
like,
yeah,
maybe
like how
games
you
2 minute
you still gotta
reports, like,
play. Yeah.